Good morning and welcome to Reimagine India. It's my privilege to extend a warm welcome to all and Mr. Prahlad Kakar to the launch of the initiative Reimagine India. It's an honor to introduce Mr. Prahlad Kakar, the Guru, and not just an ad guru. Mr. Kakar's journey is one of expression and creativity with films and advertising, all capturing the spirit of India in all his projects and ventures. Of course, he's also the youngest among us all. Reimagine India is about changing attitudes and aspirations of the youth of India towards the development of the country. It's not just about the economic change, but also about the social change that needs to take place for the country's progress. There are many problems that our country faces: challenges of governance, health, education, unemployment, political arrogance, sluggish justice system, and the list can go on and on. Reimagine India is about channelizing the energy of the young and their young thinking to take on these challenges through engaging them and with them and giving them the ownership of it all. They say we are a young nation, but are we also a young nation for the young? Why do our young aspire to leave our shores in search of a better education, opportunity, and a better life? How many generations will it take for us to let them live their dreams here in India? We are suddenly in a different world, and indeed it's a world of possibility. It's for the young to get together and deliver the India of our dreams. This project became possible with the effort of a team of talented youngsters, all MBA students from St. Francis, Mumbai, Xavier's Bangalore, and IIT Kharagpur, who developed the concept to a campaign. We have a long way to go, but your presence among us gives us the confidence that yes, that it is possible. And we are indeed grateful to you for agreeing to bless the launch of this campaign. May I now invite you, sir.
Good morning, people, Mr. Nath, and everybody who's on this webinar. Difficult times, okay? But difficult times produce original solutions. And I have great faith in the young of this country. And this country has gone, during these 3 months, it has leapt into the digital phase because there was no other option. Because you couldn't meet socially, you could not meet for business, you could not have face-to-face meetings with your clients. And so everybody went on to a webinar. And webinars today are the way to go forward. But who is most familiar with language of the computer? It's you kids, because you were born at the time when computers were already there. You were at 3 years old when your first phone was given to you as a toy, thinking that you wouldn't be able to actually press the right buttons and make sense out of it. But it took a 3-year-old about 1 week to figure out the phone versus his grandmother who still hasn't learned it. So she's still tapping with one finger, trying to get a message across, while the 3-year-old who's become now a 4-year-old is typing with both hands and talking to somebody else at the same time. And believe me, I mean, that might seem very distracting to my generation of people saying that, are you listening to me or are you doing something else? Or are you talking to your girlfriend? As I keep telling my son. Yeah, I'm doing both. So I said, I don't believe you. So they say, okay, put it down and say, what do you want me to do? Repeat what you said ad nauseum, because you keep repeating yourself all the time anyway. So they quote me backwards and say, okay, how many times have you repeated this sentence in the last 6 minutes? So I say once. They say, no, 3 times. Now, this is the dichotomy that you're going to face. The only real problem that you have today at home is being locked up with your parents 24/7 and being in conflict with what they think and what you should be doing versus what you want to be doing. And most kids actually want to sleep the whole day and work the whole night. And that seems complete anathema to most parents. And most parents say, why can't you be a normal human being? Why can't you get up in the morning and do what you have to do? So they turn and tell you, no, all our friends are sleeping, whatever you want to do is sleeping. And it's too cluttered during the day because all you old fogies are on the bloody net suddenly, which you didn't know anything about, and are learning how to talk on webinar. And we don't want to get into this clutter. I mean, it's just a horrible amount of traffic. It's like being on a highway, getting stuck on the way to office. So it's the same thing. It's in the middle of the night. It's peaceful. We can reach who we want. We can talk to who we want, because our entire generation of people is up all night. So what's wrong with me if I go to sleep at 4 in the morning and wake up at 4 in the afternoon? I mean, that's normal. We've changed our body clock. So you better learn to accept it, and we are out of your hair. Also, you go to sleep by 10 o'clock, hopefully, and then we have the house to ourselves, and we can do exactly what we want. You don't have to nag us, and be on our backs. Have you cleaned your room? Have you made your bed? Have you washed your clothes? Have you, it goes on, especially if you don't have servants in the house, because then everybody has to manage themselves, except for the cooking, which somebody volunteers to do, and therefore you get to eat at least, for whatever it's worth. But having said that, that is going to be the precursor to your new India. And the new India is, unfortunately, everybody above 40 has to go back to school. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the language of the world, the language of business, the language of young people today is social media and digital, signatures. Now, we as a generation had to learn this because that was became part of our business, outreach. But as long as we could actually go and meet our clients, as long as I could fly to Delhi and have my meetings, as long as I could waste a whole day doing one meeting for whatever it's worth, then I could actually manage without having to go digital. And because I was unfamiliar with it, and because I had to go back to learning again, it was a huge problem. Today I have to call my wife or I have to call my kids to say, hey, log me on, because I don't know how to switch on a computer. And that is really dependence of a bad kind. It's like dependence on a walking stick. So you can't walk straight because you don't know the digital language which the children are speaking today. And they're speaking a completely different language. If you notice, even the English has changed. Everything is abbreviations. And only they can understand the abbreviations. You can't. They're completely, bouncer as far as they're concerned. So everybody, in my opinion, all teachers, all senior management people in business, everybody has to go back to school and becoming as familiar with the language of the medium as familiar as the children are, as familiar as your children are, as familiar as the students of this world are. And they have gotten onto this very fast because they were born at a time when they could actually play around with a phone, which was given to them. Lollipop ki jagah phone ke saath khel, cartoon channel de. Whatever the parents actually wanted to do to get rid of them, they could get some housework done, or they could get their work done. Now the children are back home. And they're back home with a vengeance because they're 24/7, and they're irritating the hell out of all of us, saying they don't bathe properly, they don't clean their room, they sleep the whole day, they wake up at night and stay awake the whole night. I mean, what kind of kids are you all? So for us to come to terms with that kind of a lifestyle is going to take us back to school, frankly. Otherwise, we're not going to learn. One finger typing is not good enough anymore. So the India that we are going to be in is going to be connected through social media. It's going to be connected through the computer. It's going to be connected, if you don't have a computer, through your phone. Even your entertainment is going to be consumed on the phone. So you can watch movies, you can watch Netflix, you can watch what the hell you want on your phone whenever you need to. So the phone is such a powerful changer of the environment that your Android phone today, your expensive phone today, has more computing power than NASA had when they put the first man on the moon. Just imagine that and the possibilities of what you can do with that. So the brave old world is going to be left aside. So, the point is that everybody's saying everything is going to go back to normal once COVID goes away. How is COVID going to go away? And even if you develop a vaccine, how do you know it's going to work in around the world? And how do you know a vaccine is actually going to happen in the next 6 months? It's not. It's going to take us another 2 years. By 2 years' time, the way we do business, the jobs that we take up, and what we are going to look at the future is going to be all on your computer. So if your entire life or your working life and your social life is going to depend on the computer, then that means that leaves everybody above 45 out of the picture, because they can't get on, they can't log on easily, they can't talk as fluently as you all can. And therefore, I believe that the entire business leadership is going to shift from being 45 and possibly a managing director of a company to 30 who runs his own company. So if you think that entrepreneurship is not what you call awake and alive in this country, think again. Because the COVID has actually catapulted the great reason for young people not to work for anybody else except for themselves. Now, our MBAs, unfortunately, are so outdated, and the curriculum is 100 years old, and the laws of engagement of business, the ethics, the morals, everything, all has gone down the tube. Because what have your parents been telling you all along? And this is something that I think that the parents need huge counseling. Your parents have told you there is no such thing as happiness. Only money brings you happiness. Okay? I want to ask this question. Tell me one person who made shitloads of money and is genuinely happy. Okay? Only those people who followed their dreams and followed their passions and made a reasonable amount of money are very, very happy, because they are doing something that they would do with or without money, because that is what the whole criteria is. So the whole aptitude is that when your parents say you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor, or you have to be an IS officer, and you want to be a painter, and they turn around and say, "Kya paisa kamayega tu painting mein? Jab tu mar jayega to teri painting bahut bikegi. But while you are alive, you are going to be struggling to make a living." He says, but it is so easy to get 3 meals a day and a roof over your head, and that's all I need. Why would I have to have a huge bank account and do everything? You know, I've got 3 sons. One is 30, one is 25, and one is 22. And one thing that I've noticed about them is that their computer, they're not good at anything except the computer. Their entire education has actually happened on the computer after they finished school and college. And my education started after I finished college, when I started working, because I started traveling so much. So I believe that the best education in the world is travel. But today you can only get it on the computer. You have all your answers there. You can travel wherever you want to. It's like Kundalini travel. You know, in the old days, you had to actually sit and meditate for 8-7 years to be able to unravel your Kundalini and leave your body and travel all over the place. Now you just have to log on. So look at the advantages that you have of learning not in a formal education, because the formal education, unfortunately, is bogged down by the UGC, and the UGC is a bunch of fuddy-duddies who all insist on being PhDs. When did a PhD ever learn to communicate with kids? He can only communicate with other PhDs. So if you have to be a teacher and a mentor, more than a teacher, and you have to communicate with the kids, first you have to learn the language that the kids speak. Okay, being a PhD, you might learn digital language. But look at your thinking. It is so tunnel visioned. And that you've done your PhD in some thesis, and that's it. That's the end of the end of the line for your education. And you think it's the end of your line because you think you know it all. The day you think you know it all, you're dead. So if we do not get industry people, if you do not get people who are actually working and taking time out to invest in the next generation for mentoring our classes, we will never get a proper education in an institution, because we are following the rules of UGC, which are 100 years old. And they're no longer relevant. So UGC says you have to have a permanent faculty, you have to have somebody who is a PhD, your dean has to be a PhD, and lots of rules. And Mr. Nath will tell you that because he has to face them every day in terms of the curriculum. And somebody like me comes up and says, you know, hello, I'm a BA in economics officially. Actually, I'm a BA in military science because I took military science as my major subject when I was in college in Ferguson College in Pune, because I suddenly saw there was an offering with the head of my department being a Major General from Sandhurst, who was going to teach me the history of wars. And all of you in peacetime look at it and say, wars are an aberration. We studied the fact that wars are permanent. Peace is just a small interlude between two wars. The greatest progress that mankind has ever made technologically has always been because of a war. Radar, digital, miniaturization, everything happened because of the war. The entire NASA program happened because of the scientists that they managed to rob from Germany after Germany surrendered and help them build their rockets. Because Germany was way ahead of the rest of the world in rocketry and rocket science. So what they say is, I did the BAP of all MBAs because I was a bachelor in military strategy, military science, and military understanding. And everybody laughed at me at that time that tujhe naukri nahi milegi. He said. But today, when I give lectures to young people, we only talk about strategy. We only talk about tactics. We only talk about long-term investments. We only talk about how to communicate with people. You only talk about how to engage. Today, the key word is engagement. When you're sitting in your class, is your teacher engaging with you? Most of the time, you guys are reading something else or goofing off on your phones under the desk. So, if your teacher is not engaging with you, where are you getting your information in your college from? Okay? So, there is your computer is your entire education. And if your computer is your entire education and you are having a fight with your parents about what you want to do in life and what they want you to do in life, and there's no middle ground, you will finally want to leave home. One second. You will finally want to leave home and then be on your own. And therefore, most people who go to a hostel are so relieved that they don't have their parents on their back except in the holidays. And in your holidays, you make plans with your friends and say, we'll go trekking, we'll go to the mountains, we'll go to the sea, we'll have a good time and spend the minimum amount of time at home because all the time you're being nagged. And it's very rare to find a parent who turns around and says, the first and the most important thing in your life, remember my child, is to be happy. And therefore, we should be in a profession which makes you happy because you will excel in it. So our value system is so wonky today that we have to reinvent our values. Our values are make money at any cost and then be happy. In the process of making money and competing with each other on how big your bank balance is, because that is the only cursor for success, I'm afraid is a very, very flawed world. And it's up to you kids to turn around and change that. And turn around and today you have an option. Today, somebody who's a VJ on a TV channel or on a radio channel earns more, 3 times the amount that your father ever did. So on what basis is your father turning around and saying, be an engineer when you don't want to be one? Because when you go on a VJ, third year in college, and you're really successful, and you have traction because you can actually engage with your peers and your age groups, and your channel turns around and says, wow, you got so many eyeballs on your channel, here's the money. Now, if you add that kind of value, the money always follows. So creation of value is the most important subject for any MBA, regardless. Not the creation of money. ROI, in my language, is a very bad term. It's abusive. So everybody asks you, you go to a bank for a loan and say, what's your project report? What is your ROI? That's the first question they'll ask. So he said, forget about the ROI. Look at the satisfaction and the happiness that this is going to give me. So when I started a scuba diving school 20 years ago, everybody said, are you mad? You got a successful career in Bombay and you want to go out to some Goonies called Lakshadweep, which you can't even find on the map, and start a scuba diving school there when everybody is scared of the sea. In India, we're just scared of the sea, mortally, especially parents. because they've grown up in this whole atmosphere that if you're a high caste Hindu and you cross the ocean, Kala Pani as they call it, you will lose your caste. So that is where the whole theory of the being scared of the sea was all about. अरे ये तो काला पानी क्रॉस कर गया, इसका कास्ट ही नहीं है अभी. So it's not so obvious. They don't say that in so many words, but the whole thing of no, you can swim in a pool, but you can't go to the sea. If you can swim in a pool, you can swim in the sea. No, but you're not just swimming in the sea, you're going in under the water. Of course you're going under the water. That's what it's all about. Because you're discovering a new world. It's a whole new education. You're going to try and understand and look at the biographics of what is going to happen under the world. You've never seen it except on Discovery Channel. But it's very different when you shoot it on a camera, and it's very different when you see it firsthand. I mean, your heart is beating so fast, your eyes are so wide, you're breathing pure air underneath because it's filtered in your tank. And you're looking around you, and everything is 1/3 larger than it's supposed to be, because that's what the prism of water does for you. And you're just super awed. You come out absolutely blown away. And everybody who comes out of the first few dives, they're blown away because they've overcome the most important part of their lives, which our parents and our teachers put in us. And that is fear of failure. The day you surmount the fear of failure and say, this is just another step in my learning, and that my failure is only when I admit my failure. You cannot judge that I failed because I haven't. I'm going to try again and again and again until I succeed. And that's the success story of all people who've succeeded so far in the world. Nobody tukka files a success in the first rate. And if they do, it's always a tukka because they can never repeat it. People who failed many times and reached the manzil and found the economic conditions so bad that they've gone bankrupt, they start all over again from scratch. Now that takes the kind of courage to be able to face your fear. Your greatest fear today is failing. It's a stigma. Arey, fail ho gaya londa. You know, what do you mean fail ho gaya? There is no such thing as failure. It is a part of your education. And if your curriculum does not teach you how to deal with failure, they themselves have failed. So you'll have lots of children suicides when they think that the social stigma is so great that they're isolated and it's better to end their lives. So, I mean, this is really a really strange world that you are in today, because everything is now going to turn upside down. It's a manthan. So, in a way, COVID is the worst thing that could happen to us because it paralyzed us. But on the other thing, COVID is the best thing that could happen for young kids today, because they've suddenly seen a chink of light in the oppression of what you are supposed to do, led by people who are no longer in contact with the world. 75% of the population of our country is below the age of 30. So if there are 15% greys who rule through UGC what you are supposed to study and what you're supposed to do with your future in terms of earning money, I'm afraid they're completely irrelevant. So understand this, that you have to deal with it, because you have to get a certificate, you have to get a degree, it'll make your parents happy, so they'll turn around and do a little puja for you and all this sort of jazz. But at the heart of it is the matter, do you have the courage to be an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is somebody who starts his own business because he has the courage to do so, and the passion and the commitment to do so, because it takes a lot of passion and a lot of commitment and a lot of fear and a lot of facing your fears. So the biggest thing about kids today is, can you face your fear and reduce it in size to what it actually is? Can you face failure and success with the same nigaah, so that you know they're both frauds because they're temporary? So success is not permanent. Failure is not permanent. It's up to you to what you want to make out of it. So don't get paralyzed by the fear of failure. Don't get paralyzed by fear of anything. It's good to feel fear because it makes you safe. But to face your fear and to overcome it is the greatest achievement you can do in your young lives. Because once you can face your fear and overcome it, then you're free of it. You're free to act the way you want to. So understand that your mentors are more important than your teachers, because mentors are people who do not teach from a podium downwards. Mentors are people who are partners, because they both learn together. When I mentor young people, who I've been doing for the last 20 years, it was always a partnership. They taught me more than I could teach them. I could teach them a craft. I could teach them a discipline. I could teach them anticipation. I could teach them about Murphy's Law, because I've faced it all my life. But I could not teach them how to be young, because they were young. They taught me how to be young. And the whole world is going to look to young people for leadership and for breakthrough ideas, because the old people are too tired to make a new idea and breakthrough. They're so tired with coping with what they have and having what they have and thinking that this collection of money is successful. So our parents scrounge, eat very little to save for what? To save for, because they don't have faith in their children. They say, "Nalayak pata nahi kya karega, isliye ghar kharid kar do." Today, nobody wants a house. Nobody wants a car. Nobody wants to get married. So what are they saving for? They cannot save for a marriage because the kids don't want to get married. They cannot save for a house because they say, "No, I don't want this house around my neck because I'll have to keep circling around the house." बेच दो इसको, आप world trip पे जाइए, ये पैसा आप जो है मेरे ऊपर मत खर्च करके. I've got enough faith in myself to be able to stand my own legs, whatever I do. At least if I don't get a square meal outside, I'll come and eat at home. तो वो तो आप दे देंगे ना, खाना प्रोवाइड कर दीजिए, बस बहुत है. So at the end of the day, you look at your parents and turn around and tell them, give them a sign letter. I get all my students to sign a letter the moment they join my class, saying, "Dear parent, we promise that after we graduate, thank you very much for bearing with our fees and sending us to this great institution. I promise you that on my graduation, from that day onwards, I will not take a single pie from you." Can you do that? And the day you send them this letter, they get this shock. He says, "Oh God, I've lost my children. They're no longer dependent on me." So, dependency and paralysis is something that they live for. That you're constantly in trouble and you constantly go to them for solving that problem. And the day you're independent and you can solve your own problems, and you turn around and say, "All the money that you save, please take a world trip on a cruise liner." You can't do that anymore until COVID goes away, because cruise liners were the biggest spreaders of COVID initially, and they were all quarantined in various ports. But however, whatever you want to do, travel, take a holiday, go to the mountains, do tapasya, go to all the shrines, because that's what's important to you. When our time comes, we'll also go to Kailash. Now go to Kailash. It's your antim yatra. Okay? Whatever it costs, it doesn't matter. Go by helicopter if you can't walk. Pay for it. You've saved up enough money for our future. We don't need it. Our future is us, is our education, is what we got out of it. So I would like to start a campaign with young people who, when they get into an institution which actually engages with them and teaches them how to face fear and teaches them not to stigmatize failure, and that failure is only one small teeny weeny step in a great learning. You're only stupid if you make the same mistake 3 times. If you learn from your first mistake and never make it again throughout your life, you have learned a huge lesson. You do not learn anything from success except arrogance. Failure is the much better teacher to teach you what not to do in the future. So therefore, this curriculum of facing your fear has to be very important in every institution. And Mr. Nath, I hope you're listening, because this is necessary for your kids to be able to face their fears, to be able to be counseled, and to be able to turn around and say that failure is a fraud. It's only temporary. Success is also a fraud, because that's also temporary. So don't worry about failure or success. That is not the criteria of your life. Your life is passion, commitment, belief, and at the bottom line is happiness. And every human being that is born on earth searches for personal happiness, never finds it, because of the system that we are, which ruthlessly cutthroats all the happinesses in the pursuit of money. So you guys have got a completely new mandate. Old people are now redundant. They become dinosaurs. Like me, but to ask my son, put on my computer, I need to go on a webinar. He says, Bob, you give everybody gyan, can't you learn the bloody computer? So I'm decided to now go back to school and learn the computer properly so that I can turn on and say, nya, 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 nya. I don't need you, go to sleep, for whatever it's worth. So that makes me independent. I've been independent all my life. That's how you should be. And you have this, the possibilities today are so tremendous because of COVID that all systems have broken down. You have to find new ways. You have to find new ways to engage. And your new way to engage is a little screen on a computer. Just imagine how creative you have to be, how passionate you have to be about what you believe in to be able to teach it. So today's lesson from me is how to tackle your fear and to believe in your dreams and to be passionate about them and not worry about the money, but worry about creating value. The day you start creating value, the money will follow by itself, because then the money has no value. So you won't hoard it. You'll give it to people who need it more than you do, because you need only this much. So whatever it might be, and you don't believe, if you do not take money from your children, from your parents, you are not going to give it to your children. So the money that you earn can be done with whatever you want to do. You can give it to charity. You can feed homeless. You can give education grants to people. You can do what you want. But the money is a byproduct. The real product is value. And you cannot create value if you're scared of failing. So it's in that order. And that's the way I want education to be today. So today you're going to be online education. And they are forced now to turn on and say, don't copy notes. Here's an assignment to do. You submit that assignment online to me in 3 days. Now the assignment means what? So whatever the teacher is supposed to teach you, the assignment is that you go onto the net and learn yourself and write the assignment, and you're going to be assessed by that. So isn't that lovely? There's nobody on your back saying that the way the world is the way I see it. And you will repeat verbatim what I've told you and vomit it out during an exam. Rubbish. 30 people in a class, 30 different views on the assignment. And every single one of them is valid. So the teacher has to unlearn what he's teaching and say, wow, these kids have actually broken the norm and come out into freedom. I better learn from these assignments. So the teacher gets a hell of a lot of learning himself as to how to be relevant because of the assignments that he has to correct. And no two assignments are the same because they're all creative. So if I turn on and tell you tomorrow that I want you to give me an assignment of the most desperate people who have been left out of the net of all the charities, and nobody is interested in them because they're outcasts in society. Who are they and how many of them are there? Okay, so you would immediately go to Kamatipura or any red light area and start taking a census of the number of what you call professional women who actually, sex workers as we call them, okay, who are completely left out of every social net. So the government might give you grant, the government might give you free ration, the government might give you everything, but nobody is interested in the sex workers of Kamatipura. Nobody is interested in the in the people who are what we call hijras. There's huge bastis of them in every town. And when there was no COVID, they used to go around and earn a little bit of a living. Today, they are absolutely destitute. There is no living for them. So if you had to start an NGO and you say, I'm not interested in the migrant workers, somebody's looking after them. I'm not interested in the people who lost half their salaries because they're getting half their salaries. I'm not interested in people who lost their job because they'll get other jobs. But I am interested in these two communities and I will collect money for them because nobody else is interested. Now just imagine the learning. So if you submit that thing to me, it'll be an eye-opener. How many sex workers exist in every city now in our country? How many dependents do they have? How many children do they have? How many mouths are there to feed? How many transgenders are there in this country? We don't even know. Suddenly they've gone invisible because they're no longer knocking at your door in your car when you're in a traffic jam saying, hey, there, kuch. So just to go into those communities and take a census is an education in itself. So you can write your PhD and you can become a part of the UGC because that's the only thing they'll accept. So you are free today. You have no idea as to the level of what you can be and what you can become without anybody putting pressure on you to do this, do that, do this. Do your dreams. Follow your passions. Create value. Face your fears.